Hey, so this entire course is about creating applications real time. So we'll be creating projects and experimenting with different stuff. In this lecture, what we want to do is let's see how we can format our date time. There are different ways of how you can display the date time to the user, and it is specifically useful when you're creating applications where you want your user to identify what day today is. So let's just create a fun, simple application and see how we can format our dates, because the way how US formats dates is different than how India formats its dates. So let's go start a new Android project, empty activity, because it is really easy for us. And then we're going to see what's today, maybe something like that. Today, what's today? When's today? No, it just says today. I mean, today is better than anything. Okay, so let's just say today. We have the app today, which displays today's date when the user opens it. So what we have to do is first of all go to our activity main. Since we already have a little text view, we don't really have to change anything. Let's go ahead and delete this entire text because we're going to set it from the main activity.java file. Let's give this an ID as date time, and let's try to increase the text color to black maybe. So black means again 6 zeros. So I want to talk about this as well. These are hexadecimal characters, and if you're not familiar about hexadecimal, then what you can do is you can Google color palette. You just Google color picker, and Google has this color picker in which you can go here and select different colors, and this is the hex value. So you can simply copy this hex value and then paste it on your Android app on whatever the color you want your text to be. For example, let's get this bluish color, and then I'm just going to copy it here, so the text would be blue when we run this. So we have a text color, and we will give a text size to be around 25 sp. And so here also again from this one as well, you can change the however you want the text color to be. Let's go back to the main activity and see how exactly we want to get the time. So what we have to do is identify and link up our text weave txt date time, because two names, you use camel case. Find weave by ID. Sorry, oops, that's a different one. Txt date time. Right, so now we have the value initiated, and now what we want to do is we need to identify what is the way for us to display the text time on Android. So first of all, let's create a format on how we want to display this. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with a string variable, and I'm going to say date time format as we need it. Let's say we're going to start with month. So what you do is you say capital, and then you're going to say dd simple, and then yy. This is the American way of how you display date time. So we go with, alright, so let me explain what is here. So this string variable has, first it is going to display month, which could be the month, and then it displays the date, and it displays the year, and then it displays the hour, the minute, and then this a means am or pm. So this is a format that we have created. So how can we give this format and then show this on the display? It is by getting something on the Java date library, java.util.date. That is the library that we're using. See that, java.util.date. So we're going to use that, and then let's go ahead and say date format, not date format, let's just say date. And then we're going to get the calendar again from java.util.calendar. It's the phone's calendar. We're going to get an instance of that calendar, and then we're going to get the time. So this comes with both date and time. And finally we have the text, which we're going to set text, and this is where the difference happens. What happens is, and then we will be saying date format from the android.text.format, and then we'll be using the dot format, and what we're going to have here is the date time format template and the date. So what we basically did was we got the current date time using the Android calendar, which is this what this line does, and then this is a format that we defined, and now we have set that on a date time. Let's run this and see what happens, and then after we can explore different date times. This is mostly the, yeah, let's run it and see. If you can see, the text is also blue, and then you have the date time as we defined right here: month, date, year, and then the time, the hour, minute, and the PM. So this is not real time, and this is just the current time that you're displaying. So it doesn't happen here. It doesn't become 12 when this becomes 3:12 PM. So this is one way of how we can display the date time, but there are other ways. Let's explore those other ways as well. So what I'm simply going to do is I am going to go to this datetime format string file, and I'm going to press on command, and I'm going to press on the /. So what happens is it automatically made it a comment, and because we can explore with other strings. So I'm just going to say string datetime format. I'm just going to use the same variable so that I don't have to change this, but I can also use like 2, 3. You can also do that. So the second way that we could explore is, for example, let's say that here, let's just forget the month as like a number, and you want to just display the month as a text like September, October. So how can you do that? Is you're going to say MMM, which is used to define a month as a text, and then you're going to say DD, comma, Y5, which is for the year, and you're going to say HMMA, the same thing. If you run this now, this is a different format, and if you run this now, you're going to get December 2020, 3:12 PM. Note here that I didn't use this thing, but instead I kept a space and used a comma. The reason I did that because you can, if you just didn't keep a space and did this, then that is how your UI will be formatted. So you can do anyway, but this is like the traditional way of how, if you're using the calendar that way, that is how you're going to have it. See that? So you can have it in any way. If you want to have a space, keep a space. If you don't want to have a space, don't keep a space. If you don't want to have any of this and then just have the month and the day, just include it like that. So you can format it in different ways. I'm just going to show you how exactly you can use, like for example, right in here we just use DEC. But how can we use the full format of the month? Let's go ahead and do it now. So what you have to do is string date time format, which I'm going to copy because we need it in the future. String, and then here, if you want to use the full format of the date, you're going to have 4 M's. So that means full format. And then the same year, and then HM. Let's run this and see. See that? December, the month, complete month came. And if we have found a difference, that is that 3:14 PM, it doesn't have a space right now. See that? I did play with this a little bit. If you recognize this, these 3 are completely different. This is HHMMA, this is HMMA, this is HMMAA. So these are different ways how you can include this, but the output would be same. But again, if you keep a space, right here, then there would be a space right here in the output as well. Let's comment this and then go with our 4th format, which is string. I'm going to paste the variable name, and then let's try to have the day. What day is it today? Today is Tuesday, as you can see right here. So how can we see the day here? Is with the letter E. So if you have E, and let's just try to give this with a second, so we can also make a difference here. So here you can see I have included not just the minute but a second as well. Let's run this and see what happens. Tuesday, December 2020, 3:15, 32 is the second, and then the PM. See that? So there are different ways. Let's go on the fifth way, which is string date time format. Again, I should have pasted that. And now let's try to make this Tuesday, not just TUE, Tuesday. If you can guess how we can do that, it is pretty easy. Just try to identify how we can do that. Like use like 5 seconds. It's a pretty obvious answer. If you see here, this is how those 3 letters came. And in order for us to make that 4, what we did was we added 4 M's. Similar to that, in order for us to make this full, what we have to do is add 4 E's, E, and then add M, which is for the month, and then go with date, year, and then the other things are just as it is. So these are the only 4 ways of how you can do that, and how you can change the time. So this is one way, this is another way, this is with second. So you can play around with this and identify the exact way depending on what your client wants and what the product that you're creating wants. And now we have Tuesday, December 2020, 3:16 PM. And if you add SS here, you will get the seconds as well. See that? So a couple of things to note here is that in order for us to do this, what we're using the calendar, which is the default calendar of the Android application that we have. We're basically fetching what today is from the calendar. So we're using calendar to get that, and this comes from the Gregorian calendar. If you're familiar about that, the operating systems work with the Gregorian calendar. So we're basically getting the date from the Gregorian calendar, which is inside the java.util. So we're using those two, date and calendar, in order for us to get this, and also we're using this formatter in order for us to format our calendar date with the required format that we need to, with what exactly we need to. But for example, let's say that we're not formatting this. What will happen? What is the default thing that we get? In order for us to do this, let's just go ahead here and then let's just say text date time dot set text is equal to date. So it automatically, you cannot do that because this comes at the sequence. So what happens is that what this calendar sends you, it is an object of a date. So without formatting this, you cannot use it, you cannot print it out. So you definitely need to weigh a format to this in order to print this. So for example, let's say you converted this to a string and print it. Let's run it. It should either give you error or display something which is unreadable. See that? This is the complete way of how the calendar sends it. Tuesday, December 2020, GMT is the time zone of this mobile phone, +53/2020. So this is the thing that you send it, which you don't want any user to see. So what you have to do is you basically have to format this the way you want it to. And what happens with the toString is that this basically converts any object to a string file so that the user can show this as a string variable or a string object.